Does the world need another hydrangea pruning video? Probably not. Are we gonna make one anyway? Absolutely. But let me tell you why you should stick around for this one. Of the hundreds, if not thousands, of hydrangea pruning videos that are out there, you will find a lot of people telling you how to prune your hydrangeas. And yet, they aren't all telling you the same thing, but they all end up with pretty good results. So that should tell you two things. The first thing is, don't stress about it too much because there's a lot of different ways to do this and a lot of approaches you can take. The second one is that you, as the gardener, get to choose what you get out of your hydrangeas. So the reason why you might choose to prune your hydrangeas a certain way could be very different from the reason why someone else chooses to prune their hydrangeas a different way. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to prune your hydrangeas to get what you want out of them. And I'm only going to be talking about how to prune two kinds of hydrangeas, which are the only two kinds of hydrangeas you should be pruning in spring. The first one is Panicle hydrangea. This is a Limelight. That is a very common example of one. Other very common Limelight varieties are PG, Quickfire, Limelight Prime, Vanilla Strawberry. And the other type is smooth hydrangeas, Hydrangea arborescens. It is native to North America, and the most popular varieties of these are things like Annabelle, Incrediball, Flowerfull, and many others. And we're starting with Panicle hydrangea. Now, I am assuming when you watch this video that you know the basics of pruning, which is that you prune to something. You prune to a leaf node or to a branch or to a stem. You don't just cut willy-nilly in the middle of a branch. If you need a video on pruning basics when it comes to hydrangeas, here's one that I recommend here or here. You can check that one out. Panicle hydrangeas can be pruned in spring because those flowers are produced on the growth that they're going to put up yet this year. And they are extremely adaptable to pruning. I have pruned this one down to maybe 2 feet or less one year, and I have basically nipped off the flower buds. Every year it's beautiful, every year it works. None of those options have killed it at any point. So you've seen all those other hydrangea pruning videos, and you know the basics of what goes into pruning one of these. But what I want to get into is the why, and it's pretty simple. The harder you prune a panicle hydrangea, the fewer flowers you're going to get, but the bigger those flowers are going to be. The less you prune a hydrangea paniculata, the more flowers you're going to have, but the smaller those flowers are going to be. So you need to decide which one of those things do you want. If you are growing flowers specifically for bouquets because you want to dry flowers and you want enormous flowers bigger than the size of your head, you probably want to prune a little bit harder. But if you just think of your hydrangea as a beautiful accent in your garden, then you might be more interested in a lot of flowers that cover the whole thing, and you don't care what size they are because they're going to get covered in flowers. And this old Limelight, which has been in my garden for maybe 2 decades now, is going to be our test subject because I'm going to show you on this plant how you prune for either one of those scenarios. In either case, we're taking out really spindly growth. Do you see how skinny this stem is? This isn't doing anybody any good. Nothing good is going to come of this. We're going to cut that back. So you can see it's down to here. I'm going to actually take that all the way back to where I see a leaf node right there. And then right here, you can see I made a cut last year, but you can see that this little bit died off here. We're going to just cut that back to here because we don't need that dead bit there. So we take off any little dead nubs, any super spindly growth that you see. The other thing you want to look at is it crossing or hitting another branch? This branch right here is absolutely running into all these other branches. It's crossing through the middle. It is doing us zero good. So we're going to cut that back to there. So you've done all those things. Now let's get to the real pruning. Okay, do you see this whole nest of things above my head? We're going to focus on this area up here. So we're going to identify a cluster of branches. So we've got 1, 2, 3 branches coming off this cut, which is last year's cut. A really good rule to follow for this small but more flowers approach is to count up 3 leaf nodes, and you will identify those because you're going to see these little ridges, and sometimes the leaves are budding up, but if they're not, you're still going to be able to see them. 1, 2, 3. And we're going to cut above that. So we've got, just think about 3s. 1, 2, 3. We've got 3 branches that come off it, and we're going to do 3 nodes up from there. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. This one is crossing, so actually I'm going to take this thing all the way down to that leaf node right there, and get it out of there entirely. Sort of. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So maybe this is feeling a little long to you. Well, then cut it back one more. It's okay, you get to decide. But like a lot of things in life, this rule of 3 generally serves you pretty well. If you want enormous blooms, this is where we prune hard. And you can actually tell I pruned these hard last year because I actually have twine here holding these branches up, which tells you I pruned this very hard last year and the branches got a little floppy. That's the other thing to think about. A lot of times when you talk about pruning hydrangeas, you're thinking about eliminating flopping. Flopping is related to the size of the blooms that the stem is trying to support. So if you cut hard, you're going to have very big flowers. And even if this stem is the same size as this stem up here, it's going to be weaker because it's going to have more to support. If I wanted to prune this hydrangea to have very big blooms, we're going to use this stem as our example. Here's what I would do. Instead of cutting these branches up here, I'd go right back down to here. And actually, I'd cut this off altogether to, well, here, because we're going to cut to something. This is going to, and this is what we do to the whole plant. You would cut much deeper than what I was doing in that first example. Now let's say you sort of fall in the middle of all this. You don't necessarily want a whole bunch of smaller flowers and you don't want a few huge flowers. You can go in the middle too. Instead of cutting back to 3 leaf nodes, cut back to 2, maybe cut back to 1. Do a little bit of both. It's up to you. You are the gardener and you get to decide what this shrub looks like for the rest of the year. All right, that's panicles. Let's move on to arborescens. I told you we were going to keep this thing moving. This is Flowerfull. This is one of the newer versions of smooth hydrangeas that have come on the market that are bred to have stiffer stems for less flopping. This was planted in September of 2024, meaning it's been in the ground for about a year and a half now. So this is considered an immature shrub. What are we doing to this? Honestly, almost nothing. In fact, some of these have been pruned a little bit by deer, so that's done. We might do a little bit of nipping at the ends, but because this is a new hydrangea, we're not going to do much to this at all. We're just going to let it live its life and grow on. But let's take a look at what you do with one that's well established. Now this is Haas Halo, and this is probably my favorite hydrangea. It's certainly my favorite smooth hydrangea. This one is obviously well established. And regardless of variety, all smooth varieties can be pruned the same way. You might have read that you should prune this down to the absolute ground to 6 inches to 10 inches to 18 inches. But a few years ago, the Mount Cuba Center did a trial of smooth hydrangeas. And as part of that trial, they experimented with different pruning methods. What they found in their trial was that hydrangeas that had been pruned repeatedly, very, very low, sort of lost their oomph to flower after a few years of that treatment. So what they started trying and what they really recommend is sort of a thirds method of pruning, which is something that is very common among all shrub pruning types. So you remove a third of the oldest growth, and then you either leave what's there standing or you prune it just a little bit, like that. Sometimes the way to identify older growth is to just look at the bark of it. You can see that this is kind of nice smooth bark, which suggests that this is a newer stem. Some of these stems that look have a little bit more texture to them, we'll say, are probably older stems. Those are some of the ones that we're going to remove. So for this old stem, you can see there are buds right here. So I'm going to cut right above those buds right there. Then I'm just going to prune the tips of some of these branches, maybe just to take the spent flowers off or just to neaten up the bush a little bit. So I told you that this video was going to be about why you might choose to prune one way. If you want to be very quick about it, you can absolutely do the all the way to the ground or leave sort of a woody base of maybe 18 inches or something. You will have a fine plant doing that. But if you want to start thinking about overall long-term health of your smooth hydrangeas, this is a method you might want to do. If you want to do one way one year and a different way the next year, you can do that too. The beautiful thing with smooth hydrangeas is they are going to bloom no matter what. So you know that no matter how you prune these two types of hydrangeas, you're going to end up with a beautiful plant. But now you get to choose exactly what that beautiful plant looks like. So without any further ado, go forth and prune. Have a great day in your garden.